All right, good morning, everyone. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Um, I want to thank you all for coming to join us for our regional bus survey webinar. My name is Andrew DeCandis. I'm a principal planner at HGAC, Houston-Galveston Area Council. I'm joined today by my cohorts, Cameron Stowicki
Hi,
and Gilbert Washington.
good morning.
And you'll be hearing more from them soon. Um, we're here, we'll be talking today specifically about our new bus survey. But before we get into that, I'd like to sort of give a brief overview. I see a lot of familiar names in the attendee list, but I want to give an overview of what HGAC is, what we do, and um, the specifics of our some information about air quality in the region and talk and how that relates to this survey. So I think I'll just go ahead and jump into it. And if you're not familiar, we're all part of the HGAC air quality program. HGAC, the Houston-Galveston Area Council, it's a regional council of government and metropolitan planning organization for the Houston region. The Council of Government is a 13 county planning region, um, and the metropolitan area works under an 8 county planning region. And our mission is to serve as the instrument of local government cooperation, promoting the region's orderly development and the safety and welfare of its citizens. That's the description you can find of HGAC on our website. But what that really boils down to is that we focus on regional issues that are beyond the scope of any single city or county or municipality within the region. So that includes things like the regional 911 system, criminal justice, and aging. We do a lot of work, especially in the Metropolitan Planning Organization, with the region's transportation sector, as well as environmental issues, such as solid waste, and water and air quality. And it's the air quality that we're here to talk about today. Um, so here in the Houston region, we do not currently meet federal standards for ground level ozone under the Federal Clean Air Act. And we have not met this standard for the entire time that it has existed, which is, I believe it was 1979 was when the ozone standard was first defined. Um, we're classified as serious under the 2008 standard, and it looks like soon we'll be classified higher along that. And as a region, because we're a non-attainment, we're required to attain the standard and show progress towards attainment, consistent progress towards attainment. And should we not be able to show that progress, should we not be able to show that we're working towards attainment, there's penalties that apply for us. And so our work, the work that we do here, is important because it ensures that federal funding within the federal funding for highways and transportation within the region continues, and it ensures that progress with the transportation system, the regional transportation system, can continue. And over the years, significant progress has been made, but more is necessary. And sort of this chart, I just wanted to show you. I'm not going to go into the details of this, but it shows the design value. This is how EPA measures progress towards meeting an ozone standard or meeting an air quality standard since 1999 through the present, through 2020. In 2021, it's the year is we haven't had enough time in the year to have a value, but so far you can see that over the last 23 years now, we've made significant progress. We've brought our ozone concentrations down by quite a bit, but we still have quite a bit of work to do. The current standards are represented by these two bars here, so we still have a lot of work to do, and HGAC and our air quality group are responsible for a lot of that work, and also responsible for showing that progress is occurring within the region. So what do we do to help make sure that happens? We work with partners and stakeholders to better understand air quality and emission sources within the region. That means that we do work to study number of vehicles, the types of vehicles that are out on the roads, how often they drive and how much they drive. And then based on this work, we help develop programs and funding sources to help reduce emissions from these sources. And then we direct funding. We use all of this information and these programs to direct funding towards the most needed and most cost-effective emission reductions programs. Gilbert is going to talk in a little bit about what some of our current emission reductions programs are, at least when we're talking about heavy-duty vehicles like buses and other heavy-duty emissions or diesel vehicles. And this regional bus survey plays into all of those questions, right? We know that there's a large population of buses currently operating within our region. We know they fall into several general categories: transit and commuter buses, school buses, shuttle buses, coach and tour buses. You could also include kind of an other group of buses that maybe aren't used quite as much, but definitely have value within the region. I'm thinking about things like criminal justice related uses and whatnot. And so here at HGAC, we do a lot of modeling work to estimate the emissions within the region. And we have estimates via our modeling work of the buses that are operating in the region, but we lack at the moment ground truth estimates. I think studies, surveys and inventories of buses have occurred in the past, but it's been quite some time. So what we're hoping to do with the survey is to refresh our information, to help us understand where, why, and how, and what type of buses operate within the region. And then use that information to develop an inventory to get a good idea of what our emissions look like, and then and get a feel for where emissions could be improved. If we know that there's a lot of very old buses of a certain type around, perhaps that means that we have good opportunity in the future to develop a program specifically directed towards those buses. And that's the sort of way that this is going to be used to help future programs. So we're hopeful that we'll find a lot of information, a lot of new information resulting from this survey. And the survey is currently open. And like I said, we're collecting information about buses and fleet operations, or buses and fleets operating in the region. The survey opened yesterday, and the due date for responses is April 3rd or April 30th of 2021. And this link here, www.h-gac.com/clean-vehicles/regional-bus-survey, is the link to to reach the survey. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat or in the Q&A box, and we plan to address them at the end of the webinar. I'm going to turn this over to Cameron Stawicki, and he'll talk a little bit more specifically about the survey and sort of go through the specific questions that we're asking as part of this work.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Yeah, so when we follow this link that I think we should have sent out already, it'll lead us to this page here that I'm going to show you real quick. So let me go back up to the top. Yeah, so it leads us to this site here. And you'll see the HGAC Houston-Galveston Area Council emblem, as well as regional bus survey. And the first thing we're looking for is kind of information about your organization. So I'll kind of throw in an example here and kind of walk us all through it. Let's say we're like ABC ISD, make believe school district, and we're on 1, 2, 3. I can spell alphabet lane, or land, either way. And we'll say that we're in Houston. And as the responses get, as we get more and more surveys, there'll start being some auto-filling that it might do, perhaps. And we'll say 777. And down here, this is where you would pick whether you're a private company or public entity. Public being like school district or a public charter school. Private's kind of anything else, any other category. For this example, we'll say public, just because it'll kind of fill in more things. If I pick private, then the question about whether you're an ISD or not would go away. So I'll pick public just as an example. And we'll say, in this case, we'll say no, we're not a school district. We're pretend to be a public charter school. And the last question on this page is your organization interested in future grants to replace buses? We'll say in this example that we are. And then we can just click the next page. Now this one is for contact information, just about yourself or who you want kind of contacted to lead this, to represent you in the survey. This will also be important because this person, if in the future that there is an application for grants, this person, and you can attach another person to it as well, a backup, would be the contact who would send an application to and get things from and have a back and forth with. And so just fill out any information here. Yeah, I'll just put my own. And you can put yes or no if there's an additional contact person, and you would just do the same thing for that person. Now, this part is the actual bus survey part. So for every type of bus that your organization has, based on kind of the size of the bus and the fuel type, that'll be like a type that we'll have. And the list of types here we have is kind of based on sort of size. And there's a helpful little link here for which type you should, which type to select. And that kind of gives a little description as to what are all these types that we have. Oh, this only seems to cover the school buses. So we'll put, let's say we're a type B. And then you can also pick the fuel type that the the bus runs on, or it doesn't have to be a school bus, any that the bus might run on. And then also the number of buses in that group. And about for the year, we give kind of a range for the year, since each one of these ranges is grouped by emission standards. So, for example, the 1991s through the 93 will have the same emission standard. So if you have, say in this group, you've got, like 494 1992s and 5 1993s, this would become one group that you would put. And we'll say that they do, let's say, just like 20,000 miles. And this, and that can be based on kind of just average odometer reading for that batch of school buses. We're really looking for not an exact reading for each. We're not looking for an exact odometer reading for each bus, but just kind of an average of what that group would do. It would suffice. And this part here, the estimated percentage of in-region miles, this is important because our in-region we consider to be Harris County and the surrounding counties of Brazoria, Chambers, Fort Bend, Galveston, as well as Liberty, Montgomery, and Waller. So basically Harris County and all the contiguous counties that are surrounding Harris County, we consider to be in region. And if you are a school district or anyone else, you can click to find a map here. And I hope that this shows, is everyone able to see this map? Yeah, this is kind of a map of the school district.
You can see it.
Yeah, but also the counties though. And if your business and an organization, if your buses kind of run within these counties, that's where this would be considered in a region.
And the specific counties that we're interested in are Harris and all of the surrounding counties. So that includes Montgomery, Waller, like this list, Brazoria, Chambers, Fort Bend, Galveston, Liberty, and I think that's all of them.
Yeah. So we'll say perhaps we do 90%. Sometimes we might take a trip somewhere else outside of that region. That's fine. And we'll say that, yes, we are interested in replacing grant replacements that we might have. Interested with this organization consider. Yeah, and we also asked this question in the past, we've usually done diesel to diesel replacements, and we still do diesel to diesel bus replacements, but we're also looking at getting into alternative fuels. And we have in the past done quite a few propane buses or CNG buses that we have done. So we do have quite a bit of experience with alternative fuel buses. And we're looking to expand into that area as well. So if you have another group, you can add another group if you wish, or you can, and then you would just submit this to. Okay, so it says I have some missing information. So there is a little bit of a comment required. It seems. So if you have any notes or anything additional that you'd like to add, you can add it here in the comment section. And then that's basically the survey. And then we will have gotten it automatically, as well as been notified automatically that you've filled it out and submitted it. And for more on kind of what programs that we offer as a result of this survey, I'm going to hand this over to my colleague Gilbert. He can go over kind of all our programs that we have. I think you're muted, Gilbert.
There we go. Thank you. First, just want to apologize. I am having some camera issues, so bear with me. I really wanted to show off this awesome iron job I did this morning, so we'll not be able to show that. But let's see. I should have my screen up. Can you see that? PowerPoint is ready to go. Is that showing, Cameron?
We can see it, Gilbert.
Awesome. All righty. So as Andrew mentioned earlier in the presentation, one of the main goals of this survey is to gather data that we can utilize to better serve our region when it comes to funding opportunities. That best case scenario, we discover some emission reduction opportunities, and because that's essentially what we utilize to gauge funding for each particular project. So as of right now, we currently operate 2 different programs within our air quality department. And this does not include, HGAC also has a travel demand management group that often has many pilot programs for transit agencies. But this here, we're focusing on our air quality program. And with that, our 2 programs include our clean vehicles / heavy duty diesel replacement program, which focuses on heavy duty trucks replacing those older engines with newer and more cleaner engines. We also have our clean school bus program, which also operates on a similar basis of replacing older buses with newer, cleaner buses. So next, we're going to get into a little bit more detail about these 2 programs, starting off with our clean vehicles heavy duty diesel replacement program. Now, these are 2 different funding pots, but they operate under the same umbrella. Our Clean Vehicles program is actually funded by FHWA, the Federal Highway Association, and our Heavy Duty Diesel Replacement program, we received those funds from EPA. And that funding actually came from a loan repayment program, and I'll explain why those 2 differences are significant later in the slide. So with these 2 programs, what we're looking to do, as I mentioned earlier, are replace trucks that are owned by local businesses, local governments, or school districts. You can also apply for a new alternative fuel station. Now, so whether that be a CNG station, or whether that be a EV charger, those types of applications we will receive. There is a little bit of a caveat due to the fact that we are under our FHWA program is under a Buy America requirement. I'm sure everybody has heard of that by now. It has been something within our region that we've been dealing with for the past year. It feels like an obstacle that we are very close to overcoming. But basically, what that means is any funds that we issue through our Clean Vehicles program have to comply with this Buy America requirement that 100% of all steel and iron components were manufactured in the United States. And unfortunately, with the global economy of auto manufacturing, there is no bus, there is no heavy duty truck that currently meets that standard. However, with our heavy duty diesel replacement program, as I mentioned earlier, they're from 2 different funding pots, utilize EPA funds, which do not have the same requirement, and we do not need to meet the Buy America compliance requirement. So we are a little bit more flexible with that particular program. However, funds are fairly limited. I would say we have just around $1 million in funds with that particular project, meaning maybe 2, maybe 3 projects are currently able to be funded, but we are accepting applications at this particular time. With our Clean Vehicles program, we're also accepting applications. Unfortunately, we are unable to fund any heavy duty truck projects with that due to that Buy America requirement. Now, I can tell you in the future, we are applying for what is called a waiver. With those waivers, we intend to open up this funding pot in order to fund a multitude of projects for vehicles that may not have 100% steel and iron manufactured in the United States, but with the waiver, the Federal Highway Association will still allow us to fund that particular project. Okay. Now, one key component of either one of these projects is that the vehicle that is being funded or the project that is being funded must include vehicles that are utilized within our region at least 75% of the time. So if you have a bus that is being utilized nationwide or international or statewide even, it may not qualify. We're targeting vehicles that are utilized within our region because emission reduction within our region is our main goal. So if it's a bus that's being used to charter people from Houston to El Paso or Houston to California, those types of charter services and the buses used for those charter services likely will not qualify. Okay, so keep that in mind, of course. Next slide. Our Clean School Bus Program, if we have any ISDs on this particular call, I'm sure you guys are already familiar with this, so I won't spend too much time. But this particular program is also funded by the FHWA. And while we still need to meet Buy America's requirements, the good news is we have waivers on hand. We've previously applied for waivers in previous years for this particular project. So that's the reason why we still have funds available for school buses. I want to say at this particular time, we have around 15 waivers currently available for this particular funding cycle. As I mentioned earlier, we are applying for more waivers and more funding. We are just waiting to hear back from FHWA at this current time as to whether or not that application has been approved. But I want to also show you guys the website for this information. Feel free, I will drop this in the chat for easier access, but we have way more information on our website as well as our application. If you have any questions in regards to that, you'll see on this slide our phone number and email. But I also wanted to go over briefly the way in which we finance our projects or we fund our projects. It is based on emission reduction. So we're targeting older equipment, older vehicles, and we're also targeting vehicles that are actually being used. So if you have either newer buses that maybe you're looking to get even newer, that type of project won't receive the grant funding that you would receive if you have an older bus. Of course, we're looking at the amount of emission that we're reducing, and of course, with the older bus, it's probably going to be an engine that emits way more NOx than something that is a newer model. Also, it's based on usage, mileage. So if we're replacing a bus that has a route that annually you're looking at maybe 25,000 miles, as opposed to a bus that's just sitting around and you haven't been using it for the past year or two, maybe you're getting 5,000 miles per year, you're gonna get a better grant on the bus that you're actually utilizing, because we expect the new bus that we provide the grant for to be used at the same rate. So those are the two components that we look at when it comes to funding your next project. Also, another key component, as both Cameron and Andrew mentioned earlier, are alternative fuel vehicles. That is something that we hope to grow, especially within our region. Alternative fuel technology is constantly evolving, and that's another reason why we want to gather this data in regards to the bus inventory in our region, because we have to remain flexible in the way that we fund alternative fuel vehicles. Now, with buses, the technology is somewhat limited. Of course, you have great options such as propane and natural gas, as Cameron mentioned earlier, and there's a growing interest in electric buses as well. And I want to throw this out here. At the bottom of this screen, you'll see that we have the Houston-Galveston Clean Cities Coalition. And we provide a lot of education on this alternative fuel topic. So if there's anyone out there that has any questions or has any concerns about maybe the cost benefit of converting from a diesel to a propane bus, we can provide you with a roadmap essentially, and provide you with, how with that initial high cost, how can we offset that with some other benefits of alternative fuel technology. So we're here for you when it comes to that. We're also providing constant updates on funding opportunities. All you'll need to do is join our mailing list, which is, that website is listed there at the bottom, www.houston-cleancities.org. So that's a great resource for everyone to use in order to just stay up to date on funding opportunities as well as alternative fuel technology. But as far as the grants that we currently have in-house for the Houston-Galveston Area Council, you'll see our email listed there, cleanvehicles@h-gac.com. So now we wanted to open the floor for any questions regarding HGAC, regarding the survey, or our funding opportunities. All right, looks like we have.
Yeah, were there any questions that anyone had?
We do have one question. Let's see, it says, we would like to see the difference between propane versus CNG buses, small to mid-size. Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah, that would definitely be something. Paul, if we should have your email as a registered participant in this. What we can do is set up a time to discuss this with you. And we have some good resources through our partnership with the Department of Energy that provides us some analysis on the different alternative fuels and how they would benefit you. But we would love to discuss that.
Well, you do have my email address. We have our fleet's smaller, mostly smaller buses. Even the larger ones would be considered mid-sized cutaways, even though they're diesel. They're almost all low floor nowadays. That's been a requirement in our contract, but they're owned by our contractor.
Okay.
So electric buses are pretty cost prohibitive to our contractors, but CNG would not be. Plus, we also operate on the east side of town, so places like the city of Baytown, who have Exxon there, they would support CNG. So I was wondering, just there shouldn't be a whole lot of difference between CNG and propane, but I would imagine in our area we would find getting CNG a lot easier.
And we could sit down with you. If you wanted to provide us some information about your fleet and like the sort of information, the numbers that you'd like to replace. I think we could even go into. We have access to some tools, like Gilbert said, that would allow us to look at potential cost savings and also emission savings, if that's something you're specifically interested. But specifically looking at fuel costs and maintenance costs and things like that. So that's a conversation that we'd be happy to have with you.
The way we operate, we run a full turnkey, so it's very conducive that whoever our contractor is would be able to afford the bus.
Mm-hmm.
That's always an issue. These electric buses are, again, as I said, pretty steep in a price for a private company to actually purchase, so it would probably fall on us to purchase them. Plus, the entire private bus industry in the entire country has suffered.
Yeah. Right. No, and you're absolutely right. And I think electric is something that's out of reach for most folks at the moment. I know that there is some work that's being done with a statewide coalition to try to put together some funding for specifically for electric school buses. But you're right, the reach is really, it's a really hard reach. And that's why, if you look at, like Gilbert mentioned, our Clean Cities Coalition and also our Clean Vehicles program, we're very much fuel neutral when it comes to alternative fuels. We're happy to get you into, from the Clean Cities perspective, we're happy to get folks into anything that's not diesel. So whether that be, CNG or propane or electric or hydrogen. There's no hydrogen in the region, but there may be in the future. And I don't even think there's a hydrogen bus, but You know, we're happy to work with folks to get them into anything that works within their budget and within their operations.
A lot of our buses are actually gasoline. We have, excuse me, we have 4 diesel, um, 3 of which three should run every day, if you know what I'm saying, and 1 is a spare. And then they have a 5th one that they use. I call them contingency buses when they're, you know, when they're having issues with the fleet. There's one of them operating today. It's an older diesel bus, but the rest of them are all gasoline.
Okay. Well, why don't we reach out to you? I think we have I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to have a conversation about this offline, and I think that we can do. I think there's some work that we can do at the very least help you understand what your options are and potentially, you know, find you some potential funding sources or something like that.
Sure. Okay. Thanks.
No problem. And speaking of funding sources, we have a question from James Oliver about how this ties into the federal low-no program. I think it's the FTC that just came out, and applications are due April 12th. And this is strictly a regional effort from us. So it doesn't, low-no is very much a federal program. So this is completely unrelated to that, but I will say that's one of the things that we try to support through Clean Cities and through our other efforts is we help support if local governments or transit agencies or whoever is trying to apply for this program. You know, we try to do what we can to support this, because any low emission or no emission buses that end up on the road here in the region go towards improving our air quality, and it's definitely something we want to support when possible.
Yeah, and when it comes to the survey, I just wanted to add, you know, we do want to get a whole picture of your fleet. So it's important not just to add the old buses that you have, but also even any, you know, brand new buses that you have. Please, you know, any and all buses that are in your fleet, please put them in the survey. That will help us get a big picture of the whole region.
And Cameron's absolutely right about that. And definitely it's something we're trying to, you know, to try and understand what this big picture looks like. You know, it helps show not only where we have issues where we need to direct funding or direct programs, but it also shows where we're making success or we're having successes. And if we can show that we have, you know, a great fleet of buses that's, you know, that's as new and as clean as possible, then that's a great outcome as well. So definitely we're looking for everything you got, and the information itself, I don't think we mentioned this before, the information itself, we will not share specific information about fleets, about specific fleets or anything like that, but we do intend to develop this into a report that talks about the region on aggregate, and talks about the emissions and makes these suggestions just like sort of we've been talking about here during this webinar. So any information that you send to us, it will remain private and local to us, but we will be talking about information on the aggregate and probably on a county-wide basis, things like that. So we won't go into any specifics, but we will be trying to ensure privacy and whatnot.
While still giving a good overview of the results of the survey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Does anybody want to put up their hands? If you put up your hand, I can always unmute you, and you can ask your question directly. I think we'll give another minute or two for questions.
And we can also send out this is being recorded, so we can send out this recording to everybody.
Absolutely.
That way, if you've missed anything or want to review something, you can.
And we intend
And you can also
to place this on our website as well.
yes, yeah, and ask us as well. So we're just a phone call and an email away. So
Indeed, and that's something I actually did not include was our contact information. You can reach me. My name is Andrew DeCandis. You can reach me at Andrew, ANDREW .DeCandis, DECANDIS @h-gac.com.
yeah, we can make sure to get that info out
We'll include that
along with the
contact
recording
information
as well. So yeah.
All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, then I think we'll go ahead and end this webinar. I appreciate everyone. We appreciate everyone joining us today, and we hope that you'll be able to take part in the survey. We're really looking forward to seeing what folks have to say and contribute. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information will be on the survey website as well as this webinar. And I believe that's it, unless there are any other questions. And there do not appear to be any.
Well, thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.